Chioma. 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 How many times did I call you? You did not see the eye of the man that you went to review his product. This chief and his elegant looking suit that is looking very, in fact, he's just an Erisco billboard, as he's just dressed up. He doesn't even need billboard because he's marketing his company by himself. Everywhere he goes to, you don't need to look who is the chairman of Erisco or what one of Erisco. You just look at, he shows up, you know, Erisco is in the building. That means he's proud of his company, and it means a lot to him for a man to go this far and sew his suit with his company name all over his fabric. That shows you a man who means business. Okay. Anyway, for those of you who don't know, Chioma Okoli is a Nigerian entrepreneur that, you know, she does. When I was researching for this video, I went to her page on Facebook just to see what she was about, you know, so that I can understand her personality. And I saw that she offered a lot of courses on mini exportation and, you know, trying to link customers with buyers and all of that. So she's into entrepreneurial space. And the post that caused us trouble, she did this post in I think something around March last year, because I looked at all of her posts from September till March, February of 2023. I didn't see it, so I think that perhaps she has taken down the post, you know, or kept it private. But whatever it is, she did a post last year.
Now let's turn to Nigeria, where a tomato puree review has landed a woman in jail. I'm not making this up. A woman put up a Facebook post. She complained about a tomato mix. She said it was too sweet, and the Nigerian police decided to arrest her. She now faces multiple cases, up to 7 years in jail and a fine of 5 billion naira. That's about $3 million US. So $3 million and 7 years in jail, all for a bad review of tomato mix.
Did that post, and she complained about the fact that the tomatoes seemed to be too sweet.
Let's look at how we got here. What happened? The alleged crime took place last September, on September 17th. That's when our reviewer put up her Facebook post. Her name is Chioma Okoli. She is 39 years old, a mother of 3, and presently expecting her 4th child. She is an entrepreneur, a small-scale importer of children's clothes. She lives in Nigeria's financial hub, Lagos. On September 16th, a day before she put up the post, she went and bought the tomato mix. Her usual brands were out of stock, so she decided to try a different one. Before using the puree, she decided to taste it, and clearly she was not a fan. So she took to Facebook to air her grievances. She claimed the puree was too sweet, that there was too much sugar in it. And she asked her Facebook followers for their opinion.
Now, when someone says something is too sweet, that is an objective assessment. Too sweet is objective. It depends on the taste buds of the person who... It depends on the taste buds of the consumer who has used that product, and is always a relative expression of... Now, unfortunately, because, you know, Nigeria seems to be a place where customers have no rights. You cannot, you know, you cannot complain. It's as if those who are manufacturing or producing stuff, they're doing you a favor, and they forget that they're producing because they want your money. So they're bringing a product and they want your money in return. So both parties are important. The person who is manufacturing and bringing a product into the marketplace, and the person who is procuring or purchasing that product, both are very, very important. Without the consumer, the producer will go bankrupt. Without the provider, the consumer will go without that product. So both are very important. And the story has been all over the place. The first time I came across the story was actually a BBC write-up. It was in BBC, it was on CNN, it was on Daily Post, it was on New York Daily Mail, it was on New York Post. Newspapers. A Nigerian entrepreneur goes to jail for reviewing a product. At the end of the day, what this man has done, he has ended up becoming an international laughingstock. I'm coming to Chioma's where I think Chioma must have gone wrong, because as content providers, we must understand language. Language is very important. You have to be careful how you make statements, so you don't make statements that look like statements of facts if you don't have evidence to prove it. Okay, so let's start with Chief and where Chief was wrong. See, every organization should have a PR person. When things go wrong, or a PR person and a social, two people should have handled this case. We should never have even met this guy. Two people should have handled this matter before it gets to the part of the lawyer or legal representation. A social media person, a social media manager for the company, and a PR person for the company. A social media person, when getting whiff of that story, should have gone under that post to say, we understand, blah, 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 blah. Every organization all over the world that knows what they're doing, knows that you have to have online representation, media representation, and that person has to be able to see what's happening in the social media space, make relevant comments to douse the story down before it explodes. And when it does explode, the PR person should be able to come out and speak on behalf of the company. The interview he gave to Arise, when you watch that interview, you look at the statements he made, he came across as someone, if you don't know him and you were just meeting him based on that interview, you would say, this man sounds arrogant. This man sounds like he's such and such. This man sounds like he's bragging about, because when the lady talked about, oh, I see that you have pictures with leaders and presidents, I said, yes, Mercy, this guy wants to destroy my personality. And if somebody wants to, that he'll rather die than to have someone, who talks like that? A PR person should have handled this matter. I understand his reputation, his name means a lot to him, yes. But the truth of the matter is, I even complain about the products that we buy around here in Europe. I always ask the question, why do they think they have to put sugar in everything? A lot of the tomato paste that we eat, even here in Europe, in my opinion, is sweet. They don't need to put sugar in it, but you can taste it. You put it in your mouth, you taste it. Like, this tomato paste is a little bit sweetened. Do I have proof that there's sugar in it? Because sometimes when you look at the content, sometimes if you look at the content, they'll tell you sugar is there. Sometimes they won't tell you, but from the taste, you'll be like, tomatoes doesn't taste like this. But, but if you were going to, that's where, so the way he handled that matter and coming out and giving that speech and talking and the way he sounded, anybody looking at him would say this man is a bully. Anybody who listened to those the interviews that he gave and the comments that he made, especially last year, because I think this year he has not been speaking so much to the media, but from what he said a lot last year, different media, he sounded like someone who was a bully, who is a bully. And then Chioma, you see, as a content provider, when you were especially when you're talking about somebody's product, you see, everything she said, I didn't have any issue with, because I have to rely on somebody else who caught the post before I did, because I can't find it.
This set off a furious online debate, apparently with a puree maker's relative, or at least an ardent fan, someone calling themselves Blessing. Now, Blessing began the accursed chain of retribution. They told our reviewer not to bring her problems on social media and she should call customer service instead, or just choose a different tomato mix brand. Sounds like every other social media stranger looking to pick a fight. So our reviewer shot back. She told Blessing that the sauce was pure sugar and that it was killing people.
But up to the point where she said, killing people, now that part is where I find fault with what she said. Because where is the evidence? It's one thing if you're making a correlation What she should have said in that post, and in responding to that person, when she was responding to the sister of somebody who says, why are you attacking my brother's products? Why are you should have called online. And she said it's killing people. Where's the evidence that you have that somebody died from eating the tin tomatoes that you're reviewing? You don't have that evidence. That's where I think she went overboard. But if she had made an inference, right? And there's a difference between making an inference and making a correlation. When you're making an inference, you're saying, if something does such and such and such, it is likely that this and this and this will happen. That's an inference. When you make a correlation, you're saying this thing caused this thing. There's a direct correlation between A and B. But when you're making an inference, you're making A, and then you go zig, 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 zig before you get to B. Because if you say it is too sweet, then what she should have said is, it is too sweet. And knowing what a lot of reports have said concerning the impact of sugar on people's health. You see that? Now she's making an inference. She's saying these tomatoes, in my opinion, is too sweet. And I've said too sweet is an objective opinion. She said it was too sweet. Somebody else who's used to taking 24 cubes of sugar might not find it too sweet. But for her, it is too sweet. And so you want to talk about the negative effects of consuming sugar on the human health. If she had done it that way, it would have come out a little bit better. When she said it was killing people, that was the part that I think she had aired in her review. And that goes to teach us that we have to be careful when we are talking about other people. Even in reporting, there was a story that came out about Nathaniel, and Nathaniel is suing someone for defamation because that person is saying that the child that the popular artist Mercy Chinwo, that the child that Mercy Chinwo has with her husband is likely to be Nathaniel's child. How do you know? Did you do a DNA check? It's one thing to say it appears, it seems like this. I heard this somewhere, but when you say it is. I mean, we have to be careful online. We have to be careful. You have to be careful with the statements that we make. If you don't have the evidence, then you have to say, and you cannot conclude someone's guilt. Even reporting somebody who is facing the court of law, there are allegations. Until the court has judged that matter and said you are guilty, then you can say this person did this. Until that time, they're all allegations. So you have to get used to using words like allegations, sources said. And if sources, you must mention one or two sources. That's how you get out. They stay away from trouble. You make sure you say the allegations. You make sure that the word on the street is saying. You say sources, and some of the sources you should be able to mention, or you should have them be at somewhere. When they say present those sources, you'll be able to state those sources. And when you're making statements, you should be able to also provide this person's opinion and the other person's opinion. That's why when you look at news operations, they always say, this is what he's saying. We contacted the opposing side to hear their own view, because you want to try as much as possible to see if you can present both sides of the story. It depends on what area you're reviewing, what you're covering. So we have to be careful in these online spaces so that we don't get ourselves into trouble. Okay?